You're sitting in a meeting and your chest feels slightly tight. Not from stress exactly. More like something is pressing from the inside. You've been thinking about this idea for 3 days. You even wrote it down last night, rehearsed how you would say it. But now, as the conversation moves forward, you hesitate. Maybe it's not the right moment. Someone else starts talking. You recognize the direction instantly. It's your idea, just said differently. You freeze. You tell yourself, it's fine. The result matters more than who said it. The room reacts. People nod. The manager leans in. They ask him questions. He answers confidently. Not because he understands it better, but because he said it first. You feel your hands get colder. You look at the table, then at your notes, and quietly close them. No one notices. The meeting ends. On the way back, you replay the moment again and again. I should have just said it. But next time, it happens again. Now another situation. You're at your desk. There's a problem in the team. Something unclear, something messy. People absejdiet, but it goes in circles. You know exactly what the issue is. It's obvious to you. But instead of speaking, you wait. You listen. You analyze. You prepare the perfect moment. And then suddenly, someone else interrupts, says something simpler, less accurate, but louder. And that becomes the direction. Everyone follows it. Not because it's better, because it's decisive. You stay quiet again, and this time it hits differently. Not anger, not frustration. Something heavier. A quiet realization. Maybe I'm just not that kind of person. If even one of these moments feels familiar, stay with me. Because what's happening here has nothing to do with intelligence, experience, or even confidence. There is a specific reason why one person becomes a leader in the same room where another stays invisible. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. Good afternoon. My name is Daniel. I've been working with teams and managers for over 15 years. Different companies, different industries, different people. But one pattern repeats so often that it stopped being a coincidence. In almost every team, there are 2 types of people. Those who are objectively strong and those who are perceived as leaders. And very often, it's not the same person. The frustrating part? The first type usually works harder. They think deeper. They prepare more. They wait for the right moment. The second type doesn't wait. And over time, something shifts. One starts getting more responsibility, more visibility, more influence. The other stays in the same place, slowly convincing themselves, I just need more experience. Let me say something that might sound uncomfortable. In most cases, the problem is not your skills, not your knowledge, not your potential. The problem is something much simpler and much more invisible. It's the way other people read you in the first 30 seconds of interaction. Before you prove anything, before you explain anything, before you even realize it's happening, there is a belief that holds people back more than lack of talent. It sounds like this. If I do my job well, it will be noticed. Sounds fair, logical, almost noble. But in reality, it works against you. Because in a company, people don't reward effort. They respond to signals. And if you don't send the right signals, your work stays invisible, no matter how good it is. I've seen people with average skills become leaders in a year. And I've seen highly competent professionals stay in the same role for 10 years, not because they were ignored, but because they were misunderstood. They were sending the wrong signals without realizing it. And the system responded exactly the way it's designed to respond. Today, I'm going to explain 3 specific patterns that define how people are perceived inside a company. Not personality types, not abstract traits, very concrete behavioral patterns. Most people fall into one of them, sometimes 2. Once you recognize yours, everything starts making sense. And more importantly, you'll understand what to change. But before we go there, I want you to do a quick check. Think about the last 3 meetings you were in. Not in general. Specifically. How many times did you speak first? Not when you were asked. Not when the silence became uncomfortable, but voluntarily, when you had the option to stay quiet and didn't. If the answer is 0 or close to it, that already tells us a lot. Not about your confidence, not about your competence, about your position in the invisible hierarchy of the room. And that hierarchy is not fixed. It is built in real time through small signals that most people don't even notice. Let's break it down. Let's start with the first pattern. I call it the observer. This is the person who understands everything, sees connections, notices mistakes, often the smartest person in the room. But there is one problem. They speak last, or don't speak at all. From the outside, this doesn't look like intelligence. It looks like hesitation. The observer waits for the perfect moment, the perfect wording, the perfect version of the idea. But in a real conversation, there is no perfect moment. There is only momentum. And the one who enters the conversation early shapes that momentum. Not because they are right, but because they are first. Second pattern. The reactor. This person speaks, but only after something happens. Someone asks, someone makes a mistake, someone pushes them. They don't initiate, they respond. And this creates a very specific signal. This person follows, not leads, even if the reactor gives better ideas. Even if their analysis is deeper, it doesn't change perception. Because leadership is not associated with correctness. It is associated with direction. And direction always comes from the one who moves first. Third pattern. The initiator. This is the one people называют natural leader. But when you look closely, there is nothing mystical there. One simple difference, they don't wait for permission to enter the conversation. They speak early, not perfectly, sometimes even roughly, but they claim space. And here is the key point most people miss. The initiator is not more confident by nature. They are more tolerant to imperfection. They are willing to sound incomplete for a few seconds in exchange for controlling the direction of the conversation. Here is something you can do tomorrow. In your next meeting, say one thing in the first 3 minutes. It doesn't have to be brilliant. It doesn't have to be final. Just something that moves the discussion forward even slightly. Because once people hear you early, their perception of you changes for the rest of the meeting. Do this for a week, and then notice something. People will start turning to you before you even speak, and that's the moment when everything begins to shift.